3.
Hello. Welcome to the World Healing Tour podcast, where our mission is to help you heal yourself so you can heal the world. Hi, my name is Noah Crane. Each week, we will bring you tips and tools and inspire you to live your most empowered and joyful life. I'm also the founder of the 3G Effect, a daily practice to keep you heart-centered in everything you do with a positive mindset and a positive attitude by practicing 3 important elements. Element number 1, every day remember to have a grateful heart and connect to your gratitude. When you're connected to your gratitude, you're connected to positive feelings and positive emotions, and therefore drawing positive people, things, and experiences into your life. Element number 2, every day remember to ground in love and compassion. Being grounded means to know yourself, to love yourself, and to believe in you. When you are grounded in love and compassion, you're able to remove judgments of yourself and judgments of others and step into a place of acceptance, forgiveness, and self-love. And element number 3, every day remember that you are not alone on this journey, but rather you are guided by God. God, universe, source, higher power, whatever you want to call it, I call it God. God is inside of you. God is beside you. God is all around you. Open your heart and soul to God by having faith and trust in yourself and faith and trust in your journey. God will send you messages and messengers just for you to help guide you on this journey. All you have to do is learn to turn off the noise of the outside world and the noise of others. I know, because my whole life has been guided from finding my soulmate, having an easy childbirth, writing my book, being able to create a beautiful jewelry line, and also create expos and events. Everything has been guided. And so when you learn to listen, everything happens. So heal yourself, heal the world from self-sabotage, because you can have it all. You just have to get out of your own way, and that's always the key. And that's why I'm committed to continue bringing you great information and great people to pour into you every week. Today, I have an amazing guest by the name of Vishmaya Rubin. She's a mental health advocate, founder of Living in Gratitude Today, and the #1 gratitude gangster. Vishmaya shows people how to manage emotions, challenge negative thoughts and patterns, and improve relationships by living in gratitude today. Vishmaya, welcome to the World Healing Tour podcast. I'm so grateful to have you with us today.
I am so happy to be here. And I loved hearing your intro again and hearing more about what you do, or hearing about it again, because it just reminds me of, number one, how amazing you are and all the wonderful things that you're up to. So thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's such an honor, and I love that we speak the same language. I love, your gratitude, grateful T-shirt, right, that you're wearing, right, that I even have one. I'm not wearing it today, but I love your grateful T-shirt and just the message that you have and what you share. I want to start by asking you, how did you come to a place where you realized how important gratitude was in your own life?
So I think my whole life I have practiced gratitude without realizing it. My mom was bipolar growing up. My parents got divorced when I was very young. And somebody asked me that about 6 or 7 years ago. And I didn't realize it until that moment that I had been practicing gratitude my whole life. I always used to say I'm lucky. Like, people would want to say, oh, I'm sorry this is going on. And I was like, don't feel sorry for me. Don't feel bad for me, because I have a lot of great experiences, a lot of awesome opportunities come my way. Even though I had other circumstances, I never felt like I didn't have everything I needed. So I never looked at it, my circumstances as negative. It was always like, oh, I'm lucky. Look at all the things that have happened to me or for me. So I think my whole life, and then it clicked one day when somebody asked me the same question. I was like, wait a minute, my whole life I've been practicing gratitude.
I love that so much. So how does a young child that has challenges and a mom with bipolar start seeing themselves as lucky? It's amazing, right? That you were able to tap into, like, I'm lucky. And then I believe, and I don't know for sure, that you thinking I'm lucky was creating lucky everywhere you were going.
So I do believe that now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I had that consciousness back then, and how it started, I don't even have a clue.
Mm-hmm.
I just put two and two together, like I said, a couple of years ago when somebody asked me the same question. But I don't know if it was a conscious decision. I don't know if, God said to me, this is how it's going to be, or whatever it was. But that's kind of how I've always been able to live my life. And I remember one time I was in Thailand, and it was like 2002 or 2000, yeah, 2002. And I was going through, this rice field, and I was on a hike. And to back up a little bit, I get on this hike, or I signed up for this hike, and I was like, listen, I'm from Florida. We don't have hills. I'm not going to be able to carry a backpack and, schlep up this mountain. And it's not happening. So he's like, don't worry. Somebody will carry your bags for you. You give them a few baht. They'll take care of it. All right, good. So I'm going through this rice field. And now, mind you, I'm with all these Europeans, and they're smoking Marlboro Red. So they're like, and they're still like, not a problem. And I'm huffing and puffing in the back. And I was really starting to get on myself. And I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. Why did I sign up for this? Mind you, I am in the rice fields in Thailand. And I'm like, why did I do this? I can't believe it. And then all of a sudden I remembered a prayer that my rabbi used to say. And it reminded me to be grateful and to appreciate the moment where I was. So I looked around, and I just started saying thank you. And I looked around at the rice field, and I looked at the guy that was schlepping with my stuff, and I looked at my other travelers that were with me. And as I'm chanting, everybody's like, what are you saying? And I'm like, I'm just thanking God for the ability to be in the rice land in the middle of Thailand on a hike with strangers. And everything shifted. The colors got brighter. The music in my ears got louder. It was amazing. So that was the first time I think I consciously did it.
That is a beautiful story. That literally gave me chills when you were saying that. I could almost be there with you, right? That is amazing. So you connecting, being really present in that moment, and just letting it go, letting all that negative thoughts go and all the negative energy. And that's not easy to do, right? I mean, to be able to see the magic in the challenge.
Yes, that's the definition of a gratitude gangster. That's part of it, is finding magic in life's challenges.
Yeah, so let's dive deeper into that. What's a gratitude gangster?
So gratitude gangster is a person who is skilled in the art of appreciation, who lives life to the fullest and finds magic in life's challenges. And that term was made up by my high school students. So I was a high school teacher for 20 years. And we were reading these articles, and I was teaching a writing class at the time. And this article was about why kids, got into gangs, and then there was why they got out. And we were doing comparing and contrasting essays. So after we did all that, the state test was over. We're sitting in a circle, and I'm like, so why would people want to be in a gang? And I knew there was a possibility I was opening up Pandora's box, but I'm like, let's see what happens. So Alex looks at me, and he's like, man, we're gangsters. And I'm like, oh God, what happened? He's like, we're in a gang. I'm like, tell me more. He's like, we're gratitude gangsters. And my eyes got really big, and I could feel the tears starting. And I'm like, tell me more. He's like, we walk around and tell people, I like your shirt, and I like your hat, and I like your belt. And then this kid, William, was sitting across. He's like, yeah, miss. And we go around and we hug people. And my heart just opened. And then Alex goes, miss, those, and we have these guns. I'm like, no guns. He's like, miss, come on. You know the guns that have the flares that come out that say, thank you? He goes, that's what we carry. I'm like, so in that moment, they had been keeping gratitude charts since the moment they came into my class. And these were 10th graders. And they thought I had lost my mind. Why do you want us to keep gratitude charts? We don't have anything to be grateful for. You don't know about my life. And I was like, make them up. Because you could hear him, we're going to make it up. We're going to lie. I want 20 things. So when he said that, I was like, they had come full circle. So that's how the term gratitude gangster came about.
Wow, that is because I'm all into gratitude, and the fact that the young people get it, and it doesn't matter. And let's just talk about that. You had them write gratitude when they knew nothing about even wanting to connect to gratitude. They wanted to lie, right? Why is gratitude so powerful, even if you don't feel it in this moment?
Because what it does is it shifts the way our brain sees the world. Our brain looks for all those things that are bad or that are hurtful, that are gonna the goal of our brain is to keep us out of trouble, of our subconscious mind, keep us out of trouble, keep us safe. So what does it do? It finds out, catches all the negativity, catches all the things that are wrong in order for us to make decisions based on that. But when we start actively practicing gratitude and not just repeating a rote gratitude list, it gives our brain the opportunity to start to search for those moments, because we're saying, hey, this is important to me, find those moments. So they had opportunities to now go search for what they were grateful for. And then I would leave little notes, because one kid would say, I went to Burger King, or I went to Wendy's. And I'm like, listen, no more fast food restaurants on your chart. And he's like, what do you mean? You read them? I'm like, of course I read them. So it was an interesting opportunity for them to see what was actually working in their life versus what wasn't. So they shifted their paradigm.
That's huge for these kids, huge. And probably, are you in touch with any of them today to see what they're up to or how they've kept evolving? I'm sure it's influenced their whole life.
So I have kept in touch with some of them, and it's like any practice. If you don't have constant reminder, if it's not something ingrained in you, if you don't have a constant reminder, what happens? We don't do those behaviors. Maybe a year ago, I quit teaching in 2017. So a year ago, one of my boys reached out to me, and he's like, he said, I've been in the military for the last couple of years. I said, okay. And he's like, if it wasn't for you teaching us about affirmations and positive thinking and how to shift and move through things, he says, I don't think I would have ever made it. So I know that like things that we learn are in the back of our heads or back of our brains. And when we need them, they come out. So that has been the experience that when I hear from them, they're like, you made us read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, and we hated that book. But you know what? I've been really looking at the way my paradigm of the world and shifting the way I see things. So little seeds have been planted.
Absolutely. And you made a huge impact on them, and that's part of healing them to help them heal others, right? It's part of our own healing. And I know that you also work with grief, right? Gratitude and grief. How does that play into what you want to teach people or spread in the world with grief? Because so many people do go through grief and through challenging times, and they're like, how can I find gratitude in this horrible, challenging time, right? And that takes something to be able to do that. I'm sure a gratitude journal would be part of what you have them do. But I know that's something that's really important, especially when you go through challenging times.
So it's interesting because I think that when I have found the most gratitude is when I have been going through the most challenging times. And there's two things that I think are very important to remember. It's a gratitude practice is number one. And number two, there was a quote by Dr. Robert Emmons, and he said, gratitude is an effortful state to create and maintain. It is not for the intellectually lethargic. And to remind ourselves that it takes work to practice gratitude. And especially we're in the middle of challenging times. So I think there's a couple of things. Number one, start a gratitude practice when life is great, because then it's easier. But when life is not great, I say look for your gratitude wins. So who or what made a difference for you today? How did I make the world a little bit brighter? Because oftentimes we forget to take a look at what we're doing to make the world brighter. We don't pay enough attention to the ways that we impact the world, how we are shining lights. How did I nourish my mind, body, or spirit? So how did I take care of myself today? And then what made me smile or laugh until my sides hurt? And sometimes the only thing you might be able to say is, I got out of bed today, and that was the best. But when I have gone through challenging times, I have seen, I remember a story when in 2013, my aunt died. And I was with my uncle. I was by his side the whole time. And then fast forward like 6 months, I come home and I had a townhouse in Homestead that the tenant moved out. And I see my uncle on a 6-foot ladder painting. So most people would go, wow, that's really nice. He's helping you. And my reaction was like, what are you doing? And he's like, what does it look like I'm doing? I'm painting. I'm like, no, get down. The backstory is my uncle had Parkinson's. Him being on a ladder, not a good idea. And I forgot about that story, but because I had written it down in my gratitude journal, when I went back one day just to read some of the things, I was reminded of how in this moment, he's healing and I'm in chaos because my tenants moved out. I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got to get this cleaned up. I've got to manage it. And here I have my uncle on a ladder painting my house. And when I was like shocked, I'm like, get down. He's like, listen to me. You took care of me when your aunt was dying. And when your aunt died, you made sure I was okay. Let me do this for you. And I was like, tears. But so there was a lot of power there because number one, he pulled me out of a bad situation because I needed to get it rented. I needed to get a tenant in there. And also writing it down reminded me of, number one, he saw and he knew that I was there for him. So that also filled my heart because he was saying thank you in his own way. And if I had not written that down, that would be one memory that I would not remember. And then, there's so many, like my mom died September 11th of, not last year, the year before. And there was a rabbi who came in because I had to make a decision whether or not to put her in hospice. And we were chatting and I was like, I'm scared that if I take her off life support, I'm playing God. And he's like, what would she want? And I told him, he says, your answer. And he was a religious rabbi and there were so many, it was a Saturday and he wasn't supposed to be there, but somebody knew that I needed to speak to him. And again, he was part of the Hatzalah, which was the Jewish ambulance system. So he had his phone. And within 10 minutes of me telling the doctor I needed a rabbi before I make a decision, here this man shows up. For me, that was a moment of gratitude. And it was this perfect person who showed up. Because he said, call me after Shabbat. I called him after Shabbat and he says, I'm not a man of many words, but I want you to live with her tonight. Live with her? My mom is being taken off life support. Live with her? She's gone. She's dying. But those words changed the trajectory of the last night of my mother's life. So that is, I'm experiencing tremendous grief because I know she's going to go. But to make a very long story short, we lived with her that night. We played music and my friends showed up, and when we transfer her from one hospital to the other, like here are these little moments that when you're practicing gratitude, you notice and you pay attention to. And the ambulance driver is like, hey, do you want to come over with us? Come in the ambulance? I'm like, I didn't think I could. So we did. The miracle is that you could only have 3 people in the room. And I had 3 friends downstairs waiting to come say their goodbyes. They didn't know I was in the room, so they let all 3 of them show up. And we laughed and we danced and we talked and we cried and we laughed some more and we sang music, sang songs and played music. And the last sound my mother heard was me laughing. And the last words that she said were, I love you. How is that not a miracle? How is that not magical? So that's how, when you're tuned in, you can experience both at the same time. I think the big fallacy is when people think, or I've heard people say, well, when you're experiencing, when you practice gratitude, sadness goes away. No, we're humans. And the idea of you're never going to be sad when you practice gratitude, or you're never going to be angry. No.
You're human.
We're human. And this idea of, toxic positivity, everything is happy and everything is great, doesn't allow people to experience that. And then when they experience those emotions, they feel like something's wrong with them. Well, I'm practicing gratitude. Why isn't everything perfect? Because you're human, like you said.
Yeah, and I love that you were able to find gratitude in the hardest time of losing your mom, right? Major grief, right? The person who created you, who brought you to this world, and you were able to actually let her know that you're okay. And what do people, when they leave us, want? They want us to continue living. They want us to be happy. They want us to be peaceful. But yet we don't choose always that for ourselves, because we beat ourselves up, right? We're sad. We're mad about the way we did certain things, the way we interacted with them when they were alive, whatever it is, right, that has happened. And I think, being able to, I think grief and gratitude, they go so nicely together, right? I never even really thought about grief and gratitude until we spoke, but it makes so much sense, right? To be able to because all the other person wants is for you to continue being happy. And by being grateful, you're already creating that synergy of energy, and showing them that you are moving forward and you're being kind to yourself, right?
It was, there were so many more pieces to that story, but it was probably one of the most beautiful endings of life I have ever experienced. And she probably wants me to suffer a little bit. No, I'm joking, but not joking. She probably wants me to like miss her a whole lot, which I do. But it was a tremendous experience, and it gave me a story that I will never forget. And the last day of my mom's life was super magical and super powerful. And every time I bump into the rabbi or I'll send him a text, I'm like, you don't understand, you changed my life. And he looks at me and he's like, okay, because he does this, it's normal for him. But I'm like, you don't understand. So it gives me a connection to another human being, which now also connects me again to her. So it was really beautiful.
And it goes back, and it's such a beautiful story, and it so touched my heart. Like, I'm right here with you, with the emotions, with the feelings. What's so beautiful about this is it makes you realize that none of us can do this journey successfully on our own, right? We all need others to pour into us during the hardest times. And he literally poured into you. He was like a messenger, what I was talking about, right? God sent this messenger, the perfect person for you to be able to help you through this difficult time and make it actually a beautiful experience, that you'll never forget. So as hard as it was, it also left so much love and gratitude in your heart, which is what makes this story so relatable and so important, that we all have those tools, because it's a tool that we can use other people's positive energy, other people's message of pouring positive into us in order to move us forward towards what we need in our own moment, in that present moment. And that is priceless.
Absolutely. It's definitely the muscle that we have to build. Like, we go to the gym, as you can tell by my beautiful biceps, I go to the gym now. But if we don't practice, if we don't use the exercises, if we don't actually, make the motion with our dumbbells, we don't have defined muscles. If we don't use the tools that we have, having the tools doesn't mean anything.
Right.
We've got to integrate them and use them. And
absolutely. And so we're talking about physical muscle, and then now we're talking about mental muscle, right? And so
absolutely,
gratitude is a mental muscle, right? It's something that we have to, just like you're practicing to stay fit in your life, you got to practice the mental fitness too, because the mental fitness will keep you strong no matter what happens in your life, because you'll know that you're going to be able to get through this, so to be able to train that mental muscle. Now, I have a coach that I've been working with for a year, and I'm already into gratitude, but she has us write down every day 10 things we're grateful for. And she's very successful, and she still writes down every day 10 things she's grateful for. And then she has us write down our goals for the 3 goals that we have. It's really important to write your goals, right, for success, to keep writing your goals every day. And what have we learned? Because I feel like we're here every day to grow ourselves and to learn. So she has us, you have to listen to some audiobook, or read something, or do something to grow your mind, because again, that's your mental fitness, right? And so I can't stress enough that we have to do that inner work, that mental work, to be able to be strong in our lives, because the outside strength doesn't create the inside strength. It's all, it's separate elements that have to be kind of combined together.
Absolutely. It's interesting because Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, so she always talks about how at the dinner table, her parents would say to her father, not what are you grateful for with the best part of your day. He's like, where did you fail today? Because we always look at, that's another piece. We look at failure as this horrible thing, but failure teaches us resilience. And if we shift it around, not, and not in a Pollyanna way that, oh my God, this happened and it was the worst thing that happened, but yay, I'm so happy about it. But the lesson, like the core, what am I supposed to learn from it? How do we shift that? And again, that takes a lot of mental fortitude, because sometimes things happen and we're like, we want to bury our heads in the sand. So it's just another way of looking at stress or trauma or challenges, like, all right, what did I learn from it? How did I push through?
Yeah, how did I grow from it? How did I become more of me, or more resilient, like you said, because of something that I've been through. It's funny because I had somebody in our networking group share that his rabbi was talking about resilience. And so he took that word because he really liked like resilient. He made him feel good. So he was in the elevator and this guy was saying, oh, I'm going through this and this. And he's like, how are you doing? And he goes, I'm resilient, you know? And I thought that was cool because he took this one word and he just kept it because it was like he felt like that was something, again, messengers giving a word, keeping a word, sharing the word, right? That's what it is. It's that energy of share that really creates so much healing for each one of us.
My word lately has been emunah, faith. Like, and really understanding this idea of faith and gratitude and how they work together at a whole new level. Because when people said faith, I was like, you know, but it's like really this knowing that everything that happens to me is supposed to happen for my highest good. And if we live our life knowing that everything that happens to us is for our highest good, we take the traumatic situations and we look to see what we can learn from them, how we can grow from them, and we take the most delicious moments and we savor them. And that has been a huge one for me, which I've learned in the past few years, like really how to tap into that space of faith and knowing.
I love that so much. And I do this training, this coaching where they say, so, you know, we talk about the survival brain and we talk about the sage brain. So the survival brain is where we were talking before, where your fears are and anger and upset and all these like negative emotions, negative feelings on the left side of your brain. Then the right side of your brain is called sage. And sage is a place where you have positive feelings, positive emotions, gratitude, curiosity, empathy, all these really positive things. So what he tries to teach us to do is to teach our clients how to move the energy from the left side of the brain, which is the survival brain, because we don't need it anymore, right? Into the right, which is the sage. The reason it reminded me so much of what you said is because the sage thinks that everything people are going through is a gift and opportunity. So when you said that, that's exactly. So you're in your sage, thinking that everything is a gift and opportunity. And if we saw our life this way, what a different life we would live, right? Because we wouldn't see anything as like an obstacle, but it's a gift and opportunity to somehow, like you said, grow yourself, do better, be better, grow through it, not let it stop you, you know, in your track, and not let you just, you know, shrivel or you know, gets,
Right.
you know, so it's all about continuing to move towards your goals and dreams. So, you know, if we're in that survival brain, we're every time we enter something, we bump a wall, what do? We go back, right? Or we get stuck. And so how can we get out of that stuck, right? So into the sage, gift and opportunity, right? Like you said, it's such an amazing place to live, and it's a place of flow, right? When you're in a place of a gift and opportunity, you're not stuck. You're actually moving towards your goals and dreams, right? You're not letting the challenges stop you.
But again, the most important thing is it's a practice. It's a practice.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a practice.
100%.
It was like the minute, so I started reading the book, The Garden of Emunah, and it was a couple days, it was like 2 weeks before April 1st. So April 1st comes around, and my mother's disability check would always be deposited into my account. I would pay her rent, her bills, whatever. So now I'm learning about the Garden of Emunah and the power of faith and having faith, because everything that happens to elevate our soul to the next level. And I'm reading and I'm trying to integrate this, and I'm, you know, pulling the pieces that resonate with me, and the others I'm just kind of letting go. And all of a sudden, I open up the bank account to go make sure it's there, and there was $40. I was like, I'm like, it's April 1st, so maybe the government's playing a trick on me. It might be an April Fool's Day joke. I'm like, all right, God, what am I supposed to learn? Because I went into panic. I was like, are you kidding me? She's in an assisted living facility. I need to make sure her rent is paid, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, this has got to be here to teach me something. Long story short, I kept staying in that space of faith and having faith that everything would work out. And it did. It took some doing, and some wheels needed, you know, a little bit of oil, and some things had to be put in place. But within 2 weeks, within 13 days, I'm going to say 13 days, it was resolved. Everything was taken care of. And it was resolved in a way that my hair did not turn gray. I did not poke somebody in the eye. I did not have to get super freaked out about it because I had been practicing. So, and that doesn't mean I'm always in that space of, learning and or in that space of calm and tranquility, because I'm not. But at that moment, I was like, you have a choice. And this is the lesson. And if we don't keep learning if we don't learn these lessons, these opportunities keep happening. So I was like, all right, God, I got it. Be patient, trust the process, do the work. So
Yeah, and I love that, and I love when you speak about having faith and trust, because I really believe, like, we're here, we're sitting here. There's, the floor beneath us, right? I do feel like we're supported, like we're always supported, and we just have to believe it. We have to see it, and the only limits is just our own thinking and our own beliefs, right? Because it doesn't matter what's going to happen later or what happened before. It's like, can we be present right now? That you're supported, that God's got you, that you're okay, that everything's gonna work out, because it always has, right? So that's how I always believe. I'm like, I always say, like, God always takes care of me. Like, it's gonna work out, even if right now it seems like it's not gonna work out. God's never let me down, right? He's never let you
I
down,
say the same
right?
thing. I was
Yeah.
like gonna high five you on that.
Yeah, it's
I say
just
the same thing. And people actually have gotten to the point they're like, Vismaya, seriously? Why are you stressing? God has your back. You know that. Everything always works out for you. I was like, okay, I got it. So we've trained people now to believe that about us as well, which is really cool.
yeah, it makes a huge difference of how we see things on a daily basis. So with the gratitude, what's like your real mission that what do you want to really, you help women now, right now? Is that what you do? You help
Mostly
women?
women.
Yeah. So how do you find you work in groups, or how do you work with women?
So I have a group project right now called the Living in Gratitude Today Experiment, and it's really an accountability group, and it gives people the opportunity, and like you were saying, to create our future, to set our goals, to consciously create your future into being, and at the same time, you're actively looking for your gratitude wins on a daily basis. And the people who are attracted to me are usually people who are really successful right now, and if they change nothing in their life, they would be okay. But by having that accountability group, it reminds them to every day think about what it is that I want. How do I want to feel? How do I want to show up in the world? And at the end of the day, even though life can sometimes be challenging and sometimes crappy things happen, how do we find those gratitude wins? And it's been a lot of fun, because the truth is this, is that when we're living in that space, we're free. And when we're free, magic happens. And when we're free, we're teaching our children how to be that way too.
Everything's by example.
I just saw something from a rabbi who was he was going into one of the shelters in Israel. And he says, we are laughing and we are singing and we are bringing candy and we are bringing food and we're bringing all these things. He says, because our children are watching us. And if we freak out, that's the energy they bring in. So we're going to teach and lead by example. So he was singing as he was going down into a bomb shelter. I was like, wow, talk about perspective.
And talk about choice, right?
Huge choice.
And sometimes we don't see that we have a choice. Why do you think that so many people can't see past the survival brain, can't see into that they do have a different choice? Do you think they're just not working on themselves enough, or they're just too caught up in like generational trauma or things from the past that keep a hold on them? Like, what do you think keeps people from seeing, like, hey, I have a choice. Like, I can choose chocolate or vanilla, right? Like they say in Landmark. Like, I have a choice. I don't have to, so many people don't see the choice. And you hear that when you go outside and you just hear people speaking, even if, like, I'll go to a bathroom in a restaurant and you hear conversations, right? And it's just like, the words are just so negative, and they don't, it always, it really, it like wakes me up to hear how people speak and how they use their words where they don't see that there's anything else. They're just living just, like a robot. Like there's no real presence to anything that they're doing. They just come from the past all the time.
So I'll go back to the quote from Robert Emmons. Gratitude is an effortful state to create and maintain. It is not for the intellectually lethargic. our brains are wired to find everything that's wrong, to stay in that space, to protect us, to keep us safe. It takes a lot of work to shift it. It takes a lot of work to say, I'm not going to keep talking about the things that are not working in my life. It takes a lot of work to say, I'm not going to, keep reiterating a story that happened that caused me grief and pain. Because if I keep talking about it, what am I doing? I'm attracting more of it, right? That's the energy, I just lost the thought.
Yeah, that's the energy that they're bringing to them if they continue staying in that negative space.
Right. What we
Right?
receive,
Yeah.
I can't think of the quote, and it's like everybody says it all the time, and I say it all the time. Anyways, but what we put out, we get back,
Yeah,
basically.
yes.
So
Yes.
if I'm going to, and I don't think people know how to break that cycle because, again, the reptilian brain, the whole purpose to keep us safe. So when we are constantly in that battle, you've got to learn to sometimes close the mouth and take a deep breath and use your tools. And I think that people get stuck because they go into panic mode, into survival mode. And you can't be in survival mode. The minute you practice gratitude, you're out of survival mode, even if it's for a second. The minute you practice having faith or talk about your faith, you're out of survival mode, even for a second. So I think the key is to ask ourselves these questions on a daily basis so that when it gets to the point when we're having a challenging time, it's much easier. But if you're in the middle of a challenging time, ask yourself certain questions. Have a list of them. Like I say, gratitude wins. Who or what made a difference for me today? How did I make the world brighter? Because when we always look at what did other people do for us, but how did I make the world brighter? And then we start to say, oh, you know what? I am resilient. I have all these things that I do right. And then how did I nourish my mind, body, or spirit? Because we get to take care of ourselves. And what made me smile or laugh until my sides hurt? And when we start to write them down in that way, you start to pay attention to where's my focus? Is it out there? Look at what everybody's done for me, or wow, look at what I've done, or can I step up my game? But I think it's having those tools in place and allowing ourselves to shift them, because when we're in pain, if you don't have those tools, it's really hard to sometimes snap out and say, this is how I'm going to be. You've got to use those muscles when times are pleasant and wonderful and delicious, or just okay, so that when you're there, you're able to use them and pull them out.
Yeah. So many people do get really challenged by that because I think some people just like their chaos. Like they want to hold on to their stuff, because it serves some kind of it serves something for them. They don't want to let it go. They don't want to change. And that's part of it is we have to want to change in order to be able to change ourselves. It's a real, and I love what you said about, to get out of the survival brain, how the gratitude just will pull you right out. So and I think one of the things that can really help people too, and you probably think, I'm sure that you believe in that too, because we have to get out of our own way, is also to do something for somebody else, right? Because we make so many things, it's like it's about me, it's my problems, it's my things, it's my grief, whatever it is. But if we go out and we serve somebody else, like I always think, Vishmaya, like, what if you knew that the person standing that wants to get in front of you, right? That wants to drive, because so many of us, like people drive on the road and God forbid they let somebody, that happens, right? They don't let you in, right? They don't want to let you in. But what if they knew that that was your last day to live, right? What if they knew that you just lost your grandmother or just lost your mom? Or that your boss is really hard on you, or that you're contemplating suicide. What if they knew that if they let you cut in front of them, that you get to live longer, what I'm saying? What if you knew that when you do something for somebody else, you're letting them go first, like you're like saying, hey, and it's just like the pull back, right? It's to pull back. It's not making everything about you. Like how can you see something in somebody else, see the empathy, right? The empathy muscles, to be able to see the empathy, because everybody's dealing with something, and I think gratitude can let you see that empathy more in other people.
Yeah, I had my own experience with that recently. I had in my head, oh, this person is doing this, and I can't believe they're doing this. And I had a conversation with somebody else, and I heard all these other things that were not going on with this person, but we're going on with these people's family. And I was like, I get it. So it reminds you to sometimes put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And you letting somebody in, and that's a good reminder for me because sometimes I don't want to let people in. It's true. But that might be the only nice thing that somebody has done for somebody today, that person today. So it's a reminder that, yeah, put yourself in somebody else's shoes because we never know what somebody else is dealing with.
And everybody's dealing with something.
Especially as we get older. We're getting
Yes.
to, I get older and I hear things, my friends' parents are dying or something happens. And yeah, so put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And that's
People are dealing with cancer. They're dealing with all kinds of autoimmune diseases, all kinds of fears, all kinds of problems. And like, if we could just give people more empathy and compassion, I feel like, it's like gratitude, right? If you put gratitude out more, you get more positive things. If you put out more empathy and compassion towards people, it does bring more to you. I just feel like it's that constant connection of what we do in the world that we get to create more positive energy in our own lives. So it's not, we have to get out of our own way, I think, and then it makes a huge difference because it brings more gratitude, right? When I do something for you, it makes me feel good about myself.
even if it's not a physical thing, like the quote I was looking for is what you focus on expands, and it just like slipped my head. So I've been listening to Florence Scovel Shinn, and she's and this was like back in the 1920s. Did you ever read the Game of Life and How to Play It?
No, I have not.
It's this tiny, tiny book that's super powerful, and she's always talking about how, if you want people to be nice to you, you have to be nice to them, or if things are not happening the way you want, like look at what you're putting out. And it reminds me if I want people to be loving with me, even behind closed doors, I can't, mumble and grumble about them, even if it's to myself, or send them the middle finger because I'm upset. Or if you want love, send out love. And sometimes that's challenging, but really just remember, again, people are dealing on their own journey. We don't always know what that journey is. And if I want love back, sometimes I'm doing it for selfish reasons maybe, but it's okay until you get to that place where it's not for the selfish reasons, it's selfless, but I think it's both, so I agree with you. Send out love and you'll get love back.
Yeah, and I've literally left my purse in places because I'm forgetful sometimes. Like I leave my purse somewhere, and it's like almost like knowing that I'm gonna get it back because I know if I find somebody else's things, I'll always return it. And I just feel when you do good, like the universe does good by you. I feel that safety, that compassion from the universe because the more I am consciously giving compassion, the more the universe gives me compassion. The more I put out gratitude, the more the universe gives me gratitude. Like I feel like everything is just so connected energetically, right? Because we're energetic beings, right? Everything that we do is energy. Everything's energy. And so when we're responsible with our energy, what a difference it makes, right? Like
That's such a beautiful phrase, responsible with my energy. I love that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, be responsible with your energy every day, right? Another thing that my coach does, so she wrote this beautiful journal and it says, I choose joy. And it's really cool because she has had a lot of, she had cancer 3 times. She's been through so many challenging times, and she's a very successful woman. She raised 3 kids on her own, and she still chose joy. So imagine like we go through different things in our lives and we say, you know what, I choose joys, or I choose to be grateful, or I choose to be resilient, or I choose to be happy. Like we can literally say those things and tap into those energies, I think, just by being more present to them.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, it's all like, it's all the work we do inside that gets to create everything in the outside world.
Yeah, and sometimes, the practice, the real life practice is when you're going into that place again where everything is crazy is to say stop, to have a little magic word that allows you to break those patterns or interrupt those patterns so that we don't allow ourselves to go down that rabbit hole. We go down the other, I don't want to say rabbit hole, we go down over the rainbow with that beautiful thought, like really setting out our intentions and setting out of that energy that we want back. So
Yeah, and I think when we notice what kind of energy we're in, then we can shift it. If we notice that we're in fear, then we could be like, oh, I gotta shift to gratitude because, the fear is going to stop me, So when we consciously realize how we're getting in our own way by choosing, things that are, oh, I'm in anger. Okay, it's okay. Let me get the anger out and then let me choose to then choose something different, because I think, like they say in Landmark, you're always going to fall off the horse, but it's how fast can you get back on, right? It's not, you're human. So it's like, you're not going to be perfect. We're not looking for perfect. We're just looking to, like, you fall, get back on your feet. Maybe in the beginning, it'll take you like 3 days to get back on your feet. Maybe then it will take you like a day. And maybe later on, you can get back on your feet an hour or two later. It's not about not going through those emotions. It's about not staying in those emotions and choosing better, like choosing gratitude.
Absolutely. Like Gabby Bernstein talks about, she has a list of the emotions, and I don't remember the order they go in, but what if you could just feel a little bit better? So you're not in anger, you're in the next phase. Okay. And what if you could go from that phase just to the next one? And I think what happens often is when we're in that space, there's an expectation to go from here to here. And what if we just went from here to the next level? That would be a lot easier for us to be able to manage. Our brain would be able to manage that a lot easier. And again, jumping, like you said, how fast can we get back on the horse? And the more I practice gratitude and ask myself questions, all right, God, what am I supposed to learn? What are you trying to teach me here? The more I'm able to work through. Sometimes I have to be in that place of rah, and to feel it, like really feel it. And somebody will try to pull me out of it. I'm like, I'm not there yet. Let me just be here. Let me be miserable. And when I'm ready, I'll jump out.
Yeah, and I love what you said. It's one step at a time. It's even, even with me in my business, okay? If somebody throws a lot of things at me, I get very overwhelmed. I'm like, okay, I can't do anything, and I just freeze. But if they say, Noah, just take this one step right now, then I'm like, oh, I can take the one step here and get myself closer to where I'm going. It's much more, you can't eat the whole elephant, right? They say, how do you like, I don't want to eat an elephant, but, but they say, they say it's one
bite
piece,
at a
yeah, one
time.
bite at a time, right? You know, so we have to break it down for ourselves. Otherwise, we do get overwhelmed, and we're overwhelmed, then we do nothing, right?
Right.
And I love that you say that it's okay to be in that, be there as long as you need to, but then realize it's not serving you, and it's up to you when you get back up again. It's up to you. And the more you practice gratitude, which I really believe gratitude is the strongest force in the universe, one of the strongest force, because I, as you, have really been connected to my gratitude, and that has completely shifted my life, And when I'm in gratitude, I'm in flow. When I'm in gratitude, and I think of gratitude like water, right? I think of gratitude like opening a faucet of water and having the water just flow, because gratitude is flow. Gratitude is water. Gratitude is life. Gratitude is our tool, is our superpower to be able to manifest and create and connect and change. And it really gives us the tool, that energy that gets us out. Again, going back to the left brain, it's that tool that literally, it's like a rope that gets you out of those negative feelings and emotions and lets you choose something better for yourself. So I love everything that you do. I love the gratitude and grief. I think it's so important to do that, and you're making such a difference for people with that.
Thank you. It's been my calling. It's been fun. It's been exciting. Just to see, I think my highest value, I've been thinking about this a lot, is freedom. Like just freedom to live and to laugh and to love and to dance and to travel. And how do I get that? And why do I want it so much? Because when I'm in that space, I'm the happiest.
And again, when you say freedom, what do I think of? Again, flow. Because when you're in flow, you're in freedom. You're not in stuck, right?
Right.
You're in flow. And so the gratitude, it gives you the freedom. It shows you possibility.
Yes.
It shows you that you're limitless. It shows you choice. It shows you love. It shows you joy, happiness. So the gratitude literally pulls you into all these things. And don't we all want more freedom?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I know. I do too. So, I mean, gratitude, I cannot, but I know a lot of people, they hear gratitude and they're like, oh, gratitude again,
Because what they do is they're so used to repeating a rote gratitude list. I woke up today. I have food on my plate. I have a house to live in. All of those are wonderful. But that is not training your brain to find those moments that bring you joy today. So you have to actively look for something that happened to you today so that you're training your brain to find more of those actions. Because when you repeat a rote gratitude list, you're doing it and you're not thinking about it, you're not feeling about it. But when we actively look for those moments, you're like, wow, today was a really great day. Look at all the wonderful things that happened today. So it's about shifting our perspective and shifting our normal, shifting what's normal.
Right. And what I was thinking when you said that, shifting what's normal, I love that. And filling your cup, right? Because I feel like when you're grateful, you're kind of pouring into yourself, you know? So you're being present, you're seeing, grateful for the little things in life, because gratitude doesn't have to be like the huge things. It can be the little things every day. I mean, you just look around at the rest of the world and how much suffering there is in the world, and just for you to be safe and have the things that you want in your life, or it's not about how much is in your bank account. It's about seeing the beauty in that moment.
Without a doubt. I've done a lot of traveling and I've seen so many happy, joyful, grateful people in third world countries that have nothing. Going back to Thailand, I stayed one of the nights that we were trekking through the rice fields. We stayed in a barn with this family and we slept on the top bunk of this barn, and the people were joyful and wonderful and so happy to have us. And they had nothing compared to what we have here. And my travels have always taught me that it's not about the things, it's about the experiences.
But they had joy. It
They
didn't matter how
did.
much they had joy. And that is something that money can't buy, right? And that's why when I say the 3G effect, have a grateful heart, ground in love and compassion, be guided by God, those are free, right? Nobody has to go buy those things, buy these tools. It's your own freedom that each one of us has to choose in our lives every day. And it's that inner work that we do on ourselves, that mental training that we do on ourselves, that creates the life we want, because everything starts inside. When you're inside, when you're peaceful inside, you're going to find the peace outside of you. But if you're not peaceful inside, if you're not grateful inside, if you're not happy inside, how can you find it in the outside world?
Right. You attract what you're feeling, what you're doing, who you're being.
100%. So, Vishmaya, this has been so great. I so enjoy talking to you. Time goes by so fast. So, how can people connect with you, find you, and work with you?
So I'm all over the internet. You can go to Vishmaya, V as in Victor, ISMAYA_Rubin, RUBIN, or you can go to livingingratitudetoday.com. You'll be connected there to the shop if you want this great swag. We have courses coming up. The next gratitude experiment starts May 1st, so you still have time. Or reach out to me on social media, especially. I've been very active now on TikTok and on Instagram mostly.
And is it Vishmaya on all those platforms?
Vishmaya_Rubin, or you can go to livingingratitudetoday.com, but usually Vishmaya_Rubin.
Okay, great. I love that. So people can find you and talk to you. Is there anything else? Maybe I would ask you, like, is there any tool you could give people to heal themselves so they can heal the world?
Start a gratitude practice now. Set your alarm to go off every 3 to 4 hours. If you're new to gratitude, definitely do this. If you're trying to amp up your gratitude practice, a great way to do that as well. Grab your cell phone, set it to go off every 3 to 4 hours. When your phone, the alarm rings, stop what you're doing, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what are my gratitude wins? Who or what made a difference for me? How did I make the world a little bit brighter? And really pay attention to that. How did I nourish my mind, body, or spirit? And then what made me smile or laugh till my sides hurt? If you've come up with nothing, perfect, because you're going to do it again in 3 hours. If you come up with nothing, you do not have permission to make yourself feel bad. Oh, I can't even get gratitude right. Nope. Okay, acknowledge it. I'm not feeling that great. We're going to do it again. So I think that is the easiest way to shift our world, shift our mind, shift our thoughts by shifting the way we see things.
Ooh, I love that you give them actual tools and to set alarms and all that. And when they come back, so they just answer those 4 questions for themselves.
Write it down.
Yeah, so they can actually like put it in their notes, like these 4 questions, and then just answer them every time. And do they say anything they're grateful for, or just answer those 4 things?
Well, that is really what's
That
happening.
is the
Like, that is the
gratitude.
gratitude.
That
Like,
is
who
the
or what made a
gratitude.
difference for me
Yes,
today? I
yes,
found a spot right out front.
yes, yes,
I get to be here with you today.
yes.
Those are little things, but all those little things add up. I got here from Hollywood and there was no traffic. Amazing.
Yeah, I love how you found the spot. It's like God just like, okay, there it
There
is.
it is.
Yeah. And it's funny because every time I come to the studio, I always know that I'm going to have a spot up front. I always do. And only when I'm in fear, you guys, I park down the street because I'm like, okay, there's a spot here and I'm not going to take a chance. But God always takes care of me. He always leaves me a spot in front. Today, Vishmaya had the spot up front and there was even a spot for another car. So it's, and she was even considerate to make sure she left enough spot for another car. I mean, it's all impact. It's all how we impact how we're impacted by the world. And I love the tools you just shared with people. I think it's so important. Write them down, you guys. Make sure you set your alarm. Make sure you ask yourself those questions because it's those little actions that will make a big difference in your life every day. I love that. That is really helpful. Thank you so much. So it's an honor to have you here today. And thank you so much for being on the World Healing Tour podcast.
It was my pleasure. And I love, I've known you a long time and I just love hearing your message and hearing how you're impacting the world. So thank you for allowing me to be part of that.
Of course, it's an honor. It's truly an honor. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today on the World Healing Tour podcast. Until next time, remember to have a grateful heart, to ground in love and compassion, and know every day that you're not alone on your journey. Rather, you are guided by God. Have a beautiful week, everyone. Namaste.